guys, Joan Ribs. The first look more in-depth at a resource in Slay the Spire is going to be looking at health. So let's take it away. I'm going to like slap this guy with a strike. His health just went down. He's at 37 out of 49. And now he's going to hit me back. I'm at 73 out of 80. Cool. So health as a resource is fascinating in this game because nothing about this combat has changed. Everything is exactly the same. There's no like... Well, there is actually a way you can get wounded in this game, but it doesn't actually have anything to do with losing your health. So my strikes still deal the same amount of damage, my bash still deals the same amount of damage, my defend still blocks for the same amount, and he's still attacking me for the same amount on his turn. This is a very, very important thing to recognize conceptually in this game. It means things like, if I can set up for a big turn 3 turns from now where I'll just kill everything, that's better than dealing a bit of damage now and next turn and the turn after and the turn after to kill everything in 4 turns. Because those guys I'm dealing damage to are not getting wounded or, you know, crippled from me hitting them, unless the attacks I'm using actually cripple or make them vulnerable or something like that. So it's very important to recognize that it's a key thing to think about in like early tough fights. Defending here does not help me win this fight whatsoever. The only thing that defending here does is make it so I leave the fight with higher health. So if I want to leave the fight with higher health, then yeah, defending here is great. I take 5 less damage this turn. But if I'm concerned that I might like die outright in the fight, I can recognize, we can see that this guy only has 37 health, right? And we can deal a bunch of damage to him. So like, there's no way that I'm gonna die if I'm just attacking him. I'll just demonstrate. He's hitting me for 12, and then next turn we're gonna hit him a bunch more, and bash strike, and then the turn after he's gonna be dead. He did not come close to killing us, and this was sort of the easiest way to win the fight. We didn't spend a ton of turns, we weren't thinking really hard or anything like that, we weren't playing blocks. The part where we're playing defense and trying to protect our health in this fight is trying to make the fight a little bit harder and more difficult to win in order to come out of it with higher health. It's a really important concept to recognize for fighting against early elites in this game. As we're progressing through the game and we get this elite fight or something, if we go into this fight with 75 health, early elites are often scaling up pretty rapidly, so they get more and more dangerous as the fight goes on, or they're very, very strong at the start of the fight. If you fight against the elite fight with 3 artifacts, all 3 of them are attacking you right at the start. If you're trying to use blocks to like survive and not take damage in that fight, you're very likely to end up killing yourself or coming out of the fight having taken more damage than you should have, because you're trying to protect your health at a time where it just doesn't make sense because you need your deck to be outputting its damage. So yeah, recognizing that losing health is an okay thing to do sometimes, and the goal is just to lose as little health as possible, but sometimes that requires you to sacrifice some health to output damage, is very, very key in this game. Other things about health, we can get it back. Our Ironclad will start with the Burning Blood Relic, so he gets 6 health every combat. We get health back from campfires if we choose to rest. Not something we necessarily want to do because there are other good options at campfires, but it is an option. You can get health back at question marks sometimes. It's a little bit random. And we do get a full heal when we kill each act boss. There are 3 act bosses. I guess it doesn't really matter that you get a full heal after the 3rd one because the game's over, but the first 2 will give you a full heal. So as I'm playing with my health through the first act, what I'm trying to do is use it as a resource to get as much as possible. I'm very happy to kill this Act 1 boss with 1 hit point left, because if I did that, it means that I use those other 79 hit points to do something cool. Probably I went to campfires and I didn't rest. Instead, I upgraded a card. So going into Act 2, I have an upgraded card. Or I use the hit points to fight an elite and kill an elite. That means that I get a relic for Act 2. Yeah, ending this first act on full health does not make Act 2 easier in any way. It gives us a higher score, if you care about score. But in terms of winning the game, if I end the first act with 80 health, I'm probably thinking, gee, was there some elite I could have fought to get another relic? Was there a campfire where I didn't have to rest and I could have upgraded a card? Because we want to be using this health to make sure that our deck is improving as quickly as possible. We can regenerate health from potions as well, and there are some cards which we can pick up which will heal us. Some cards and relics. So for the Silent, there's a relic that heals 2 health every time you play a power. That's a great way to get health back. For the Ironclad, there are... Is it only Reaper for Ironclad? Reaper and Feast? There's a way for the Ironclad to improve max hit points, which also improves your current hit points the same amount, and then Reaper heals you for as much damage it deals. Those are both rares, though. So it's a little bit unusual to have ways to heal yourself in combat with either of the classes, but it is possible. And if you're in that situation, you want to recognize it, because it changes how health matters. All of a sudden, you might be really happy to take a bunch of damage because you can just regenerate it all back. So yeah, make sure that we kill this combat as safely as possible, and then our health comes back anyway. This is cool. And the other thing I wanted to mention is hurting yourself. So you can always hurt yourself if there's like a Thorns enemy and you hit it, but the Ironclad in particular also has builds around cards which hurt it. Rupture is a power which gives you 1 strength for the rest of the fight every time you take damage. And then there are other powers which deal you damage. There are cards which deal damage when you play them to yourself, and you can combo these to deal yourself a bunch of damage. We don't really have to get super into that archetype, but something to think about. You can also deliberately use your health to hurt yourself to, ironically, make yourself stronger. All right. So those are all the things to be thinking about with health. There's quite a bit.